This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a GE dishwasher that isn't draining, so I'm prying off the little cap on the air gap because a lot of times the clog is right here and where my screwdriver went in, right in that little tube. You'll find some debris. That one looked pretty good though. So I've got a full amount of water in there. I'm going to hold this button down, the start button, for 3 seconds, and then I'll close the door, and that's going to activate the drain system, and I'll see if it can get rid of the water. Doesn't seem like much is happening. I'm going to reach in and feel the drain motor right here. And I can actually feel it vibrating. It's making a little tiny noise. It's vibrating, but doesn't seem to be pushing the water very well. So that could be a bunch of things causing that. It could be something as jamming the impeller so it can't spin, or there could be something blocking inside the drain tube. It's funny, on this one it actually turned out that the little impeller, the paddles that spin, 2 of them had broken off, so it just didn't have enough strength to really drain. So right now it did shoot out some of the water, so it's kind of an intermittent thing. When the water shoots out like that out of the top of the air gap, that usually points toward a pretty good drain. The water, when it's filled properly, should touch the bottom of this heating element. So this is actually completely full of water. So this is a good test to see if it can get rid of it. If I hold that start button down for 3 seconds and then I close it, then it should drain for about 3 minutes. And in those 3 minutes, it's got to be able to get rid of all of the water. If it doesn't, then you have to figure out what's causing that to happen. So I can see a little bit of water coming out here in the disposer, but not really a lot of volume. So it seems like sometimes this motor is doing a good job and other times it isn't. It does seem to be working, so the drain motor is getting power, so that's a good sign. But again, something's preventing it from fully draining. Could be a clogged drain line, could be the motor is broken, the impeller is broken. The most likely cause when you have this is something is inside of the drain line just prior to this white thing, the air gap, and you have to just clean it out. But if you do set it to drain and then you close it and the air gap cap is removed, you should see a big column of water shoot out of there, maybe about 4 or 5 inches high. This one seems like it does that sometimes and other times it doesn't. So I got all the water out. I'm going to take off this filter and then I'll take off this piece. I'm just going to look in this area. This is where the water leaves the dishwasher to go down to the drain motor. Just want to make sure there's nothing caught in here. This is the float. This thing floats up and down and activates a little switch that tells the dishwasher whether there's water in there or whether it got rid of the water. I'm making sure that float can move easily, and it does, so that's not the problem. I'm using a turkey baster to get rid of a little bit more of the water because I just want to look in there and see if there's something clogging it. So I did find a little toothpick here, but that wouldn't stop the water from flowing. So just feeling around in there, looks pretty good. So I'm checking the drain motor again. I've got it unplugged now, and I'm got all the water out by bailing it out manually, and now I'm going to use a centered head screwdriver to remove the hose clamp that's on this part of the hose. I got all the water out of there, but a little water is still going to come out when I remove this black tube. This is the tube that takes the water from the drain motor out toward the air gap. This is right on the drain tube. So a little bit of water came out. You can just have a towel down there would be good. And I'm checking inside of this tube with my finger. Now I use my little finger to check inside this tube that's part of the drain pump. See if I can feel anything clogging it. Sometimes right here on this tube that I have in my hand, where it makes a right turn, there'll be stuff gets caught in there, and that's pretty common. Like there might be a seed or something. I'm going to use this little tool to reach in there and see if I can clean out anything. You could use a straightened coat hanger too, would work. Put a little bend in it so it can make that right turn. And then I'm going to pry off the top here on the air gap again to see if maybe I can clean that out. This is a tool that's used to clean the tubing in a CPAP machine, and I'll put a link in the description below, but it's a really good little tool for dishwashers. It fits into the drain line really well. So the center tube of the air gap is where you put this tool to clean out something that might be in the drain tube. And you just feed this thing in. If you feel there's an obstruction, you kind of pump the snake back and forth like this to see if you can break the obstruction. That's really a very common problem with dishwashers, is the air gap gets something caught in it. And by breaking it up with this little tool, that'll solve a lot of the problems. Put the air gap cap back on. And then I'm going to look down here, and I noticed that after I did that procedure, it pushed something out of the tube here, and it looks like a little cherry seed, or the pit from a cherry. And I think that's what was actually causing the partial obstruction. So I'm going to put this tube back on and get that tight. So actually on this machine, I thought that this is the one with the broken paddle, but that's the one I fixed later in the day. This one actually, the drain motor was fine, but it was just something caught in the drain tube, and it turned out to be that little cherry pit. It was all that was preventing it from draining. So I'm going to just tighten up that hose clamp again, and that'll be the end of the procedure. That ended up fixing it. This area where I'm working is usually covered with a little panel that you have to remove a couple of Phillips head screws to get into. This is on a GE dishwasher. I think they call it the Aurora model. So I got that clamp tight. I'll press that start button for 3 seconds to elicit a drain cycle. And then I'll close the door and see if it can get rid of the water. So that did the trick. It just needed to get that obstruction out of there. And it just ended up being that little cherry pit. And that's pretty common. Sometimes you see little pieces of ceramic get caught in there, or little pieces of glass, but oftentimes it's right where that right angle is. So now we have a full amount of water in there. Press the start button 1, 2, 3 seconds. Close the door, and then that'll start the drain cycle. And I can see now at the garbage disposer that water is shooting out really good. So we don't have an obstruction anymore. The drain motor's working, and it can get rid of that water really fast. So hopefully this will work for you too. I think I would try the air gap first, and if that doesn't do the trick, I would go down to where that tube leaves the drain motor, where it makes that right turn, that right angle turn, and make sure there's nothing caught in there. And using that tool should really help too. Again, we have a link in the description below. But that got this one going. Very common problem on dishwashers, and hopefully it'll help you to get your GE dishwasher draining again. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for watching our video. We really appreciate your support. And when you get a chance, please press the subscribe button below so you can be subscribed, and also the notification bell so we can send you more videos about appliance repair. Please also give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you really liked the video and it really helped you, please press this new applaud button and you can show your support and also get a nice clapping hands for your video. Thanks again.